You have to have Bluetooth.
Hang on, it has to have that. Is that in, what is apps? Is that appetizers? I could do some Nibblies. Guys? Nibblies?
Operator.
Yes, hello, we like some poppers.
No, I don't like poppers.
Love them.
They're actually pretty good.
I'm not big on them.
I love them.
Say no more.
Little Rascals? Little Rascals? I love them.
No.
Was it pickles? They were talking about pickles.
Who loves them? Alfalfa?
No, buckwheat.
Yeah.
Remember, like he had traded, like him and the other little kid they both had a pickle. He traded him. He's like, I traded you my pickle for a dickle. When I wasn't. What did he say? He said something like that.
Whenever I think of buckwheat, I think of Eddie Murphy. Honestly.
No. Anywho.
Oh, Tay.
The Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers
Cheated. We got cheated. Oh, my bad.
played a game this past weekend. Boston is what, first in the East.
Yes, they are.
Best team in the East. The Lakers took them to the stretch. Took them all the way to the wire. Came down to a play. Bron took it up the court. Went left. Went to the cup for a layup. It appeared to the world that he got fouled.
Oh, it didn't appear. He got fouled.
And the refs were in great position to make a call. Normally, with a play like that, you could argue for the ref that, hey, he wasn't in good position, but there was a ref in good position to make a good call on the best player on the planet who deserves to get these calls, and he didn't get the call. And the Lakers went on to eventually lose that game. And it's in his post-game interview, Bron said he hasn't been getting these calls all season. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's a LeBron thing, or is it just the refs need to do a better job of officiating NBA games, especially games to that magnitude? I know it was a regular season game, but Boston to LA, and this, it may not have meant as much to the Celtics, but that game meant a lot to the Lakers as far as the outlook of the rest of the season. And that was a blow-in call. How do you guys feel about it?
It's ridiculous.
Is this camera on me?
Is it? Is this camera on me? It's ridiculous. The Lakers are getting cheated. Okay, all right. Pump, we were talking before we hit record, and you're like, "Look, it's game 39." And I understand.
You've been waiting,
huh?
No, you've been waiting.
Oh, I mean, I get fired up about my teams. The Lakers are not in a position to be losing games that they should win, right? Let's be honest. The Lakers are not the best team in the league by any means. And when they have an opportunity to win a game, especially, statement games, momentum games, right now teams who want to make a playoff run in the back half of the season, you try and get some juice going into the All-Star break. Guys rest up a little bit. You come out of the break and you really make that push, right? LeBron is in year 50 of being in the league. He can't go pedal to the metal every night. But there are certain games where you can tell, like, LeBron is he's really putting it all out there. That's one of those games, right? Is this new NBA rivalry week, is that new?
It's so weird.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to force this thing. But anyway, I mean, that is I would say, the biggest rivalry in NBA, Lakers Celtics.
Sure.
Is probably the one that's meant the most over the last 40, 50 years. So that's a game where, like, LeBron went all out. That team went all out. And for a team right now that is searching and trying to find ways to win through all the injury issues, to have a game come down to where you've got arguably the greatest player of all time getting blatantly fouled. Now, there's some fouls I'm like, okay, that can go either way. Like, sometimes like a block or a charge. I'm like, that could go either way. If it was one of those situations, I probably wouldn't be frustrated. But the fact that it was blatant, like, everybody saw it. Everybody knew it was a foul. It was obvious, and the ref was standing right there. Like, this is your job. Like, if on my job, I have to be able to pull data and explain it to people. If I don't know how to pull data, then I can't do my job. That's literally what I'm there to do. The refs are there to make those calls. Now, I get the whole, and if I want to try and shoot them some bail, or they don't want to be the difference in a game, right? We always say let it work itself out on the court. But that ain't that. Yeah. Right? That's not a ticky-tack. Literally, a guy's going for a layup, his arm gets smacked in front of a ref and no call. And what makes it even more frustrating, this has happened multiple times now this season. Right? Again, this is the team that has battled injuries. LeBron has missed time. Anthony Davis has missed time. Lonnie Walker just came back. Austin Reeves is still out. So the biggest contributors to this team have all missed time. And so now they've been scratching and clawing, trying to keep their head above water. You know, they're still, you know, in the hunt for the playoffs, and they're getting beat by the refs too. Like that's right. Pretty egregious, man. Like somebody, I forget who put it up. I think it was Lakers Nation. The Lakers have seemingly been cheated on 4 game-deciding plays. If you switch those, let's say they get those calls and then win those games with free throws, we're the 6th seed right now. So you might, it's just a little thing, but it's actually not. And in a competitive West, right, we know we don't have the best roster in the West. Right. So this team has to take every game they can get. In a competitive West, we need those games. Straight up. Like, yes, it's a game in January, and if you handle business, it shouldn't mean anything at the end. But right now it does. Right. And like Ham said, and I know I'm ranting, like Ham said, he's like, say the 2-minute report. Because it doesn't do any good. That's mad annoying. Stop sending me reports saying you messed up. I don't want to know that. I know you messed up. I don't need you to tell me that.
It doesn't help the bottom line.
What are you going to do to fix it? Tell me that. Tell me what you're going to do to fix it. Am I going to get those points back? Am I going to get those wins on my record back? If not, then save it. I don't want to see it. And sure enough, right after the game, Eric Lewis, who apparently is a huge Boston fan, who gets to ref Boston games, they're 36-2 whenever he refs their games. The next Donahue.
Good grief.
Come on, man. 36-2?
Yeah, we need the feds at Boston.
Come on, man. This man's family on Twitter, blatant Boston fans. He should not be able to ref any Boston games. That's nuts. That's like somebody said on Twitter, that's like Spike Lee reffing Knicks games. There's no way he can call that unbiased. Like, come on, man. It's like, come on, NBA, do better. As a league that has branded itself and put in the work to be on the forefront of trying to get things right, they got to do something about this. I mean, that's egregious, man.
Yeah.
I know I went for like 5 minutes.
No, you're good.
No, I think it presented the opportunity to the NBA to do something about it, because I talked to you about it. That this is the one thing where the NFL is ahead of the NBA, and that's in those kind of instances, the ref, you would see a ref throw a flag on a call just to throw the flags, knowing that you could review it and overturn it, but you made the call. Yeah, like when in crunch time, in those moments under a minute, all plays like that should be reviewable. Or even if you won your challenge, you should be able to earn another challenge, because I think Ham, he challenged a play earlier in the game and we won it.
A bogus foul call on Anthony Davis.
Right. So give me my challenge back. We won that. So you could have a challenge. You can't just let that be the de facto in the game. And I think it's just an opportunity for the NBA to fix it, because there's going to be a lot more important games. And if guys like that are officiating these games, it's not fair to the fans, and it's not fair to the players. And we normally don't see LeBron take games into his hands like that and go to the cup. He's always jacking threes. And the fact that he was robbed of that moment, whether it is to go to the line or make the play, I don't think it's fair to him or Laker Nation. So, yeah, this is just presents an opportunity for the NBA to kind of do something about it.
Paul, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. You watched a lot of MJ, a lot of Kobe. You've seen a number of greats. Mm-hmm. How many of them don't get that call?
Kobe and Mike get that call every 100% of the time. I mean, I think what was the classic little line Magic Johnson said, if you breathe on MJ, it's a foul. Yeah. Can't get too close to him, it's a foul. It's true. The only thing that I can say, I honestly feel like LeBron has been like this for 20 years now. There's been a lot of times where LeBron just doesn't get calls. And I feel like I've heard him say it
that was my
a
next
lot,
thing.
right? Now, I've thought about that, and the way that the NBA plays nowadays, it's so free-flowing, it's so wide open. people don't like to see calls as much. Again, when we saw, Jordan and Kobe playing, come fourth quarter, MJ and Kobe at the line like every possession.
Yeah.
Now, some people just don't like that brand of ball, but at the same time, Kobe and MJ both know it's winning time. Let me attack the basket. Let me attack the basket. Let me make the refs make a call.
Go call.
Go calls, right? And a lot of times they did get contact, right? Some of it's ticky-tack, some of it's hard, whatever. I think in today's NBA, I feel like a lot of players suffer from the way the style of play is now. It's so free-flowing. You don't see a lot of people attacking the basket. You don't see, even Joel, how many fouls, attempts does Joel Embiid or Joker get?
30.
Seriously?
No, they get a lot of free throws a game, man.
And B's in double digits. And that's where I was. Go ahead.
So I feel like, with those big men, they're down there banging around. They're going to get certain calls. You don't see a lot of guys like LeBron, like a Steph, who are just attacking the basket that way and get a call.
Steph will get that call.
Steph will probably get that call. But again, you're probably going to see Steph win a game on a 3-point shot.
Right.
Or a mid-range jump shot. You're not seeing a lot of players attack the basket. I don't think it's always fair, but at the same time, I do think a lot of referees, and I'm honestly not trying to throw shade at Bron. I do think a lot of referees view players a certain way, and I think that the same way we see James Harden now, right? He doesn't get a lot of calls.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
And the refs know what James Harden does. So I think that some people have reputations around the league. These guys ref the same game for years. If people think that, all right, bro, you're flopping, I think that sometimes that will make them not get a call.
That shouldn't excuse you from looking at a play and making a good decision, not based off of his reputation. Yeah, Bron flops, but you could see a foul.
Hold on.
No, it's not fair, but I'm saying that, again, the human element of a lot of these things, I think that still ends up playing a factor. And obviously LeBron got smacked. He should have been on the line, right? For whatever reason, that happens. But at the same time, like you said, Breeze, like there could be 4 or 5 games that's a swing and now you're the 6th seed. How many times does that honestly happen? I can probably think of 2 or 3 Bulls games right now that bad calls were called on Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. And it's a shift. You see that in a lot of games. Obviously, you guys see it more for the Lakers because you watch almost every Laker game. I think at the end of the day, it balances itself out.
I think my issue is one at the. Let's be honest. NBA, we talked about this before. The NBA went out of its way to elevate the players. Right? The NFL says, nope, it's the shield. Everybody get behind the shield. Nobody's bigger than the league. Nobody's bigger than the shield. And the NBA back in the 90s with Jordan went out of their way to say, nope, go stand in the front. Hey, Jordan, go stand in the front. Right? When we go to Barcelona, we want crowds of people standing around to see Jordan play. Right? Hey, when Kobe goes to China, we want crowds of people there to see Kobe play. And it's not so much about the logo. So then if you're going to be a player-driven league, which is what the NBA is, it's a player-driven league, you've got one of the greatest ever to play your game who can't get even questionable calls. Like if it's a 50-50, Kobe gets that call. Yeah. If it's 50-50, Jordan gets that call. When you look at the top 10 scorers in the league, LeBron is currently 6th in points per game. The Kyrie Irving is 10th. Kyrie Irving is the only one of the top 10 to not have more free throws per game than LeBron. So on that list, you've got Joel Embiid, attacks the rim, he's a big. Okay, fine. Luka Doncic is not a big. He doesn't attack the rim any more than LeBron does. So where are his foul calls coming? You got Giannis, okay, fine. Jason Tatum, I mean, maybe. I feel like it's probably about the same. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's getting more calls than LeBron. Like, what are we doing? You know,
shout out to Shai.
No, like seriously, like honestly, what are we doing to where one of the greatest to play this game can't even get obvious calls? And I'm not even asking for like the slanted, the home cooking.
Let me ask you this though: is it the way that LeBron reacts to everything? Because we talked about this before. Everything ain't a foul with LeBron.
No, because
he argues everything.
Who doesn't? But Joel Embiid don't. Luka is not constantly talking to the refs and then trolling the refs. I just watched a play just last week where Luka gets called for a carry. He comes back, hits a step back 3. He carried on that one too. Ref didn't call it. And then on his way back to the bench, he's mocking the ref for calling a carry. And he still gets calls. I can't even say that because God, how many times do you hear, hey? right? A guy, he goes to the rim. Hey, every time, everybody does it. So there's no excuse. It's ridiculous. And LeBron is flopped. I'll give him like he's got some notorious flops.
Yeah.
And this is my last thing. I've never felt that LeBron was a foul hunter because those are different things. James Harden, you mentioned, he used to hunt the foul. Like he's not even really looking to score. He's looking to get fouled. I think Luka was bad for it. Trey was real bad for it. Steph when they kick the leg and stuff like that. LeBron, like he'll oversell something, but rarely is he just foul hunting. I've never seen him foul hunting. And so at that point, how do you give him a stigma as, well, I don't know if I should call it or not because he could just be selling it. Well, he's never been that person. He's never been a foul hunter.
No, you're right.
That's a good point.
If David Stern was still the commissioner, I would understand that point because you're absolutely right. He did put Michael Jordan, all those guys up front. I feel like Adam Silver has done a better job of making it still about the league, but still promoting the stars. Whereas David Stern was the biggest capitalist commissioner you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, but he also made the game as huge as it is.
Oh, of course he did. And that's how he did it though, right? Yeah. It was Michael Jordan and the Bulls. Now it's the Lakers. Like, yeah, you'll see LeBron's face out front, but you know it's going to be the Lakers and the Celtics, right? Or now we have rivalry. The same way you see rivalry week.
It's so hard to say. Rivalry week.
I'm with Fudd, right? You never saw that back in the day. You saw it's Mike and Pat. It's Clyde and Mike, right? It's Kobe and whoever. Nowadays, you see Adam Silver in the NBA making a conscious effort to promote teams. Like, yeah, again, you're still going to put LeBron out there in front. Right. You're going to put Luke out there in front. So to see people not get star calls anymore, and especially with the NBA making concerted efforts to not have so many fouls called anymore, I'm not surprised that some of these calls aren't getting called, even though they should. Again, some of these calls are egregious.
Because you could create an environment where it's even more flops. It's even more egregious flops. Oh, I'm not getting that call. Let me make it obvious. Let me start foiling my arm.
So again, they made a concerted effort to get rid of that kind of thing in the NBA. In all honesty, almost to make it seem like there are less fouls being called.
And I'm okay with that if it was happening across the board. And I felt like other people, like the Lakers play everybody. Mm-hmm. If you're a big brand in the NBA, you're going to play the Lakers at some point. Well, I think everybody in the NBA plays everybody anyway. You got 82 games, you might as well. And so I see us play other teams. I'm like, man, he got that call? Like in that same game, and I know I said my last statement was my last one, but in that same game, you see Jaylen Brown get a ticky-tack and one near the end of the game where, like, I guess he got hit. Like, I didn't even think that was it because it was just blatant and clear that he got hit. I'm like, I can see it. Like, Pat Bev kind of reached. Yeah. But I'm like, the ref called it from almost half court. I'm like, what?
Even the layup Tatum missed, and that was a foul on Jeremy Rondo.
Was not a foul.
Okay, I'm sorry. You said Pat Bev. Pat Bev with the camera, though.
I mean,
worth it. Worth the tech.
I'll take that.
Take that tech, bro.
Worth the tech.
I will pay your fine.
Yeah.
I mean, because quite honestly, we were going once it went to overtime. I'm like, we're losing this game.
We checked out.
So
I dig it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nonsense, man. Do better.
Please do better.
Well, since we're on the topic of LeBron, he's inching closer to that all-time scoring record. Mm-hmm. If he averages 38 points in his next 3 games, he'll tie the record and possibly pass it if he scores a little bit more. But
we didn't play tonight.
Yeah,
because why not?
He's emotional. He's in his feelings right now.
Oh, apparently he's dealing with serious soreness in his foot.
Soreness in his feelings.
Yeah, sure.
I'm hurt, dog. But yeah, man, it's a crazy stat. But at the same time, it's even more crazier that Kareem did it with not shooting the 3. Yeah. He played in college. He didn't come straight from high school, so that's to be applauded because I don't think LeBron could have did it in Kareem's era. So we have to give him an applaud. And for LeBron to do it, I never thought I'd see someone even come close to doing it. And most people thought maybe Jordan would do it. But for LeBron to be as selfless as he is as a player and do all the other things and still put up this kind of a stat, that's just amazing. And as much as people want to troll LeBron or talk about the things he don't do right and, everything wrong about LeBron, I think people should actually appreciate this because we didn't see Kareem. We saw Kobe, we saw Mike, but they never achieved this. So I think as sports fans, we should just, kind of let it sink in and soak it up.
100%. When Tom Brady first came to Tampa, and I me, I'm a jerk. Everybody who hated Tom Brady for the past how many ever years, and all of a sudden you've got the greatest player of all time or greatest quarterback of all time on your team, right? And now all of a sudden when he brings you a ring, everybody loves him. And you appreciate what he does. You get to see firsthand why he is what he is.
Right.
And now when he's gone, you're gonna be mad that he's gone, right? For whatever I hate LeBron for a lot of reasons, and mostly because he just destroyed the Bulls for majority of his career, right? I mean, majority of his career, you couldn't get out of the East because LeBron was there, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't stand him because I couldn't beat him. I understand what Knicks fans felt. I understand what Pacers fans felt. You couldn't beat Michael Jordan. Your favorite player couldn't get a ring because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So to see what LeBron is doing, if you appreciate sports, if you appreciate basketball, just a slight bit, just enjoy what you're getting because you're probably not going to see it for a very long time. It may happen again, but it's going to be 30, 40 years down the road. What he's doing is ridiculous. So enjoy it. Like, please.
Yeah, it's remarkable, man. It's really nothing short of that. I mean, Kareem will always be that guy, right? Different brand of ball, like you said, no threes, really doing it, at the rim, right? Or everything was within 10 feet of the rim, which is amazing in itself. And I'm glad to see that LeBron was able to seize the opportunity. You see a lot of guys who have opportunities to do great things, and for whatever reason, they can't commit to it, right? Or they can't stick with it. LeBron could have walked away. Like, let's be honest, man. He could have been like, look, I won my chips. If he would have retired 5 years ago, he still goes down as one of the greatest, right? That doesn't change. Yeah. And yet he has an opportunity. He's got the health to do it. Like, Kobe would have loved to be able to play this many seasons. His body couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Kobe would have loved to be the one to knock off Kareem. His body wouldn't let him. LeBron's body's letting him, and he's taking that opportunity, which I think is something really to be appreciated and to be admired, because there are a lot of people who can do great things, and then they aren't committed or dedicated enough to make it happen. So for no other reason, be happy for him because of that. Yeah. That he had the opportunity and he seized it. Because there are a lot of guys who have opportunities to do amazing things, and they just can't commit, or they can't stay dedicated, or they can't stay focused. And he's never let anything get in the way, right? He's always kept basketball at the forefront, and he's always been committed to his craft. And you got to take your hat off to him. I mean, and that's just one of the reasons.
Yeah. And as much as we talk about, like, we were just clowning that he's taking tonight off. Like, I don't think he's ever actually cheated the game of basketball or cheated fans. He scored what, 40?
One time. Only one time has he ever cheated the fans of basketball. Him not being in the dunk contest.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
That's it.
I don't say no. No.
He hasn't cheated the game.
Nah, neither.
That contest, maybe he cheated us.
Nah, you need.
I would want to see him, just like I would want to see Ja in the dunk contest.
Yeah, I like to see it, but
Nah, I need that.
But yeah, to have that kind of pressure as a high school kid, and now here you are, 30 years later. That's just crazy. So I hope he passes it soon so we could get that out the way and focus on playoff basketball.
Great stat.
And hopefully we get calls.
Great stat to your point. LeBron has 2,227 more career three-pointers made than Kareem. Kareem had one.
That's how amazing Kareem is.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
All right. Bronny made the All-American game. We don't have to talk about it too exactly. We don't have to talk about it too much, but do you guys feel like he got there because of his dad, or did you see progression in his game, or do you see something there in his game that made him get that honor?
I think that he's progressed to probably being the 5th pick in the second round of the draft.
Wow.
Still getting drafted.
Yeah, still getting drafted. I mean, somebody's going to draft him, because if you draft him, you get LeBron.
But he's not that guy, though. to get drafted.
I mean, I don't know on that. I think he's getting a little bit of the Arch Manning treatment. Right? I said it before we recorded. There's no reason Arch Manning should be the number one player in the country. They're not doing that with Bronny, but he's good.
And the kid is good.
No, he is good. You know, he's not. And Arch Manning, I think Arch Manning's good. He's just not best player in the country good.
Right.
And I think Bronny's good. I just don't think he's McDonald's All-American good.
Yeah, you can find a Bronny in St. Pete or Tampa.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, moving on. We got Josh Gaddis. He's out in Miami.
Yes.
When I spoke to you earlier in the week, and I told you this doesn't make Mario Cristobal look that good. It looks like he doesn't know what he's doing because you invested so much time into picking your guy. You took, how long did he take? Like 3 months to pick the staff?
Well, actually, like recruiting the staff, I don't know the time. I mean, I do know he has this belief that he believes in players over staff. Okay. He thinks if I have elite players, the staff is less important. But he does have a drawn-out process. It's like a multi-day interview process.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just well thought out, very precise. Yeah. He went after he couldn't get the initial guy he wanted as the OC, but he had a backup plan, so to speak.
Yeah.
So he it seemed as if he had a plan, and to kind of punt on your OC after 1 year, I think, and you said it, this hire is gonna be make or break. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It'll show you like where he is at as far as an organizational standpoint. Because from the outside looking in, it's not a good look. What do you think? And who are some of the candidates you would want to take this position?
I mean, I think you're right. He blew it. Right. He made a bad hire. Let's call a spade a spade. Now, do I think it's as bad as it seemed? No, and you got to get kind of into the weeds. I mean, obviously, I think I've mentioned, I think Pump, even you mentioned it at some point, like the injuries were ridiculous. I mean, how many teams are losing their starting quarterback and 3 starters on their offensive line and still putting up a lot of points a game? It's hard to do. So it's not all on Gaddis, but again, at the same time, you know, there's been other things talked about that he didn't do well. First of all, your offensive coordinator who's a wide receiver coach. That's already abnormal. So in my opinion, you need to go above and beyond to make sure that you and the quarterback's coach are in lockstep because they're the ones coaching the quarterback, which is the most important position on the field. And from what I understand, he didn't always do that. And the receivers didn't like him, right? You weren't able to win over your room. You know, that's a big deal, right? Especially in college, you're talking about kids. Some of these kids are, right now, Miami has a kid who's 16 years old on campus already, Antoine Jackson. He's like the youngest kid to ever enroll at the University of Miami for sports. And so, you know, imagine dealing with a 16-year-old kid. Like, you got to be able to earn that trust and win them over and bring them along. If you want to develop these guys, they got to believe in you. So you're unable to win your room, and then obviously you get the results on the field that you got. So it was a fail of a hire. You know, so this one does really matter. Mario, unlike a lot of coaches, has never been a coordinator. Right? A lot of guys made their bones calling plays in some form or fashion. Kirby Smart, great defensive coordinator. Nick Saban, great defensive coordinator. He still coaches safeties, I believe, or corners or something like that. You know,
Saban?
Yeah. No, I think he's the safeties coach. He's the safeties or the corners coach still to this day. But he came up, he made his bones, you know, calling defenses. You think of Lincoln Riley, offensive coordinator, Ryan Day, offensive coordinator. So a lot of the big time coaches in football, college football, made their bones as a coordinator, and Mario did not. You know, Mario was a position coach. He, you know, was regarded as one of the best offensive line coaches and a great recruiter. And that's how he made his name in the game. So his tenure or his success really hinges upon his ability to hire good coordinators. Because at the end of the day, he won't be the one calling plays. Now, he has say, right? He's got a certain offense that he believes in. He wants his offense to look like Georgia's, where we're going to dominate you up front. We're going to be able to run the ball at will, and then we'll have some athletes on the outside. We'll get them the ball, and they'll make plays. Right? They want to be able to overpower teams. So his focus is on recruiting. Right? That's where he puts all his energy. That's where his focus is. He's going to finish out a recruiting cycle before he focuses on hiring coordinators, which is what he did just now. Right? He's like, hey, early signing day is coming up. Gaddis was a lame duck. He's like, but I'm not going to fire you until the class is done. I'm focused on recruiting right now, and then I'll get rid of you. So he does need to get this right, and I'm getting long-winded again. As far as my top choices, I think of realistic ones that are out there, Dan Mullen makes my short list. I think Dan Mullen's a
Dirty Dan.
fantastic offensive coordinator, man.
Yeah.
He's just got great feel for play calling, and players like playing for him. His offenses are pretty fun, and he runs a power spread, which is what Mario wants to do, is run a power spread. So he's on my short list. Scott Frost is on my short list. Just got fired in Nebraska, currently doesn't have a job. I think he also runs a power spread, and we've seen his offense, especially at UCF, be able to be successful. I think in Nebraska, he really couldn't get the athletes he needed to do what he wanted to do, but I think in Miami, he'd have a better chance of getting the athletes he'd like. So those are a couple of the ones that I think are actually realistic. Some of the more far-fetched ones, like Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think that's a legitimate option.
Cliff out the country.
But that would be a great one. Yeah, I know, right? Joe Brady, I think would be a great one, but I think he loves to be in the NFL too much, so I don't think he would come back to college. So, and another one that I think is realistic, but I'd rather him as a wide receivers coach than an OC, James Coley, who's currently coaching wide receivers at Texas A&M, who was the OC at Miami under Al Golden, and we actually put up 30 points a game when he was our OC. We had 4 linemen get drafted. We had Duke Johnson on that offense. Stephen Morris, has the single game record for passing yards in a game under him at Miami.
Felicia's son.
No, Stephen Morris. That was Brad Kite. You're thinking about Brad Kite.
Okay.
Now, Steve-O was before Brad. So, but anyway, I would like to get James Coley back, but I would rather him as a wide receivers coach than an OC. But he's also a great recruiter.
All right, enough about Miami. Any other coaching moves in college that you want to touch on?
I think the Garrett Riley hire at Clemson is huge.
Where'd he come from?
TCU. He was the TCU offensive coordinator. And so he gets a year under Sonny Dykes. Obviously he's Lincoln Riley's brother, so they know ball very well. He's been around for a while calling plays. Obviously, this was his biggest year being underneath Sonny Dykes, who is also, I think Sonny Dykes is a disciple of Mike Leach, and he runs a different version of the spread but something similar, and obviously Lincoln also runs a spread like that too, so I think it was a really good fit for them. And Clemson runs a spread at this point. They run a one-back spread system too. So Clemson was in a weird spot, right? They end up losing Jeff Scott to USF, and then they end up losing the guy who takes the Virginia head coaching job. I'm blanking on his name. I can see his face. Black dude.
Yeah, black dude.
But anyway, he takes the Virginia job, and so
Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott. And so Dabo hired from within, but he hired a guy who had not really called plays before, and it just it didn't go well by Clemson standards. They still won double-digit games. Yeah, but by Clemson standards, it didn't go well, and so I think that's a really big hire. I think Cade Klubnik has a lot of talent. I think that kid's going to be good, but he does need the right coach around him. You get a Will Shipley back at running back. All those receivers come back. So I think that's a really big deal, and I think Garrett Riley he's looking to make himself a head coach, and he's going to have an opportunity to coach a really talented offense to really use this as a stepping stone to get that head coach opportunity.
Well, I hope he doesn't get it.
Me neither.
Obviously. They also come to Miami this year, so that won't be too fun.
You never know.
Mine is Pat Surtain. I know I probably mentioned it earlier in one of the shows, but if you watch Florida State, the secondary, you just hope they have a good day. And I think Pat Surtain, he's not only going to recruit well, he was a former Heritage head coach. There's a lineage of DBs that come out of there. So I think he's going to recruit well, and he's going to challenge those guys in the back end, and we'll see much improvement. And that's really the piece that I was most concerned about coming into this year, because most of the core of that defense is coming back, but you lose the heart in Jamie Robinson. And I think he's got enough pieces to work with back there, and I think he's going to bring the most out of those guys.
I feel like me, and 12 talked about that like towards the end of the season, or maybe at the very end of the season after the bowl game. Like, what are we looking for them to do? And I was like, no matter what, they need to do something with the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
And if that's going to be the piece that brings it all together, because outside of the transfers that we've had some pretty crappy DBs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, very bad. And especially coming from the standard that is there at Florida State for defensive backs. It's been god awful. Outside of, again, transfers, Jamie Robinson was great, but if if Surtain can get that talent in, like you said, coach him up on top of what we have coming in there, this could be a really big season for Florida State.
I hope so.
I hope so.
I hope not.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Let's take a break. We're going to get into some NFL.